it's made her connect with people. As I say, if she had stayed at home, in her own home, she would have probably been like isolated.
Hi, I'm Agnes Stowicki, Managing Editor with Comfort Life. We're speaking with insiders from Canada's leading retirement communities and care providers to uncover insights to community lifestyle, care, culture, and leadership. This includes insights from residents, family members, and administration. This is the Comfort Life Insider Perspective.
Well, I think there's a couple of portions to that. And the first one was the services that they were providing prior to COVID. And then the other thing that more recently that I've appreciated is related to COVID. So my mom has dementia, and prior to going to Granville Gardens, she really wasn't getting out much. She wasn't motivated to be connected to other people. She wasn't taking part in any activities in her community. She had a lot of issues related to, pain in her knees, pain in her hips. Even if it was suggested that maybe she get out for a short walk or an activity, she just wasn't motivated to do any of that. So probably when she moved into Granville Gardens, which was about 2 years ago, when she moved in, I felt that she would probably get worse quite quickly while she was there because of her lack of wanting to socialize and be connected to people. But what's happened is the exact opposite. I feel like she's thrived there. And I think it's the motivation of the staff, whether it be to, come down to exercise class. If somebody had told me my mom would be going to yoga, I mean, albeit it's in a chair and she's, just moving her arms around, but I would have said there's no way my mom would even participate in that. But she loves all the activities there. She's made new friends there. She loves the food. She loves socializing with groups, and the staff has told me she participates in everything. So she's come sort of full circle since she's been there. And then with COVID, I mean, initially, obviously, myself and other family members were, quite concerned about how she was going to do with not having any connection to outside people, because, they went from initially confined to your room, you can't even socialize with the other residents, and then to slowly opening things up within Granville Gardens. But it got to a point where, we can get back there, but I thought this 1 year period of having very little connection was going to be difficult. But the best thing about it has been they have not had a case of COVID within the facility. There has been no scares, no outbreaks amongst the residents or the staff. So all of the protocols that they implemented there obviously were for a reason, and they did a fantastic job of it, because there's been no issues related to the virus within the facility. It's some of the activities. So it's, right now it's a little difficult because there can't be a lot of indoor entertainment, but there's been opportunities, especially in the past, when I could go for, what would be called the Friday afternoon ice cream social, or the Friday afternoon happy hour. So I could go and I could order a glass of wine and sit with my mom, and all the other residents were gathered in the lobby, and they would have someone singing and playing piano, and it was all songs that the residents knew, and the residents would get up and sing along with the woman who was sort of leading the piano session, and sing along, and it just those sorts of things. And I think it was those types of things that's brought my mom, it's made her connect with people. As I say, if she had stayed at home, in her own home, she would have probably been like isolated, not participating in things, had no motivation to participate. So it's these small group things that happen there. And aside from, and right now with COVID, I know that just recently they started doing a bit more of those types of things. So for instance, on Friday, they post things on their social media so I can see what's going on. But they had a singer and I believe someone playing guitar set up outside in a covered area so all the residents could be outside listening to music again. So, and my mom really likes music. She loved it when, hopefully with the school year starting in September, this happens again. But, you know, kids would come and do like a little concert. So she still talks about, it was Halloween, I think kids came in their Halloween costumes, and she just loved seeing little kids in their costumes. The building's great. It's situated in a really nice area. So when their little walking group goes out for a walk outside, it's very treed. There's a lot of open space in it. The lobby is nicely furnished, nice comfortable furniture. There's a little fireplace. It's hard to talk about a fireplace right now when it's really hot here in Vancouver, but you know, it makes it very inviting in the winter time. And then, so that's the large sort of central area in the lobby. And then the dining room is off of that. It's very nicely set up. There's a big window that's always lots of bright sunlight coming in. You can see the trees outside. There's a nice little courtyard area that with comfortable loungy type chairs to patio furniture. It's really comfortable for residents to go sit outside. Small little bistro area as well that the residents can go to and choose whatever they want from the fridge if they just want a little snack or make themselves a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. And that's something my mom has appreciated and I've really appreciated, because it gets her out of her room. So if she wants to, she knows that she can go down there and make herself a cup of tea, and she might run into a friend and sit with them and enjoy it with them. Instead of sitting in her room, you know, having a cup of tea by herself. And then off that bistro, there's also another little patio area with, you know, little chairs and tables to sit outside on a nice day. There isn't really a pub, but there is a room that has like a bar like setting that has a big TV screen that they'll film movies in sometimes. And I would miss not having a pub, but my mom's not much of a drinker, so it's not like she's wanting her glass of wine or a cold beer on a sunny day. So she's good with that. I mean, there's obviously always, you know, you can order a glass of wine with your dinner or have a beer with your dinner by all means, but there's not a pub. Just a lot of people and everybody in the dining room, just, you know, fantastic. My mom's big thing, she always says she loves the food. There has been a couple of different activity directors. It's terrible, I can't remember the first one's name when she first moved in, but she went off on a mat leave, and then now it's been Kaylee who replaced her all throughout COVID. And they've just been fantastic. And I part of it is what they organize, and part of it is the motivation for my mom to participate. There's also the wellness team director, Christopher, who has just been wonderful. It's like for me and other family members to connect and stay on top of what's happening with her and what's going on. And they're always like quick to answer questions. And then just whoever's at reception. So Pamela's been just always just so friendly. Everybody's very friendly and happy to answer questions. And then Donna, who was the marketing, I believe her title would be marketing manager, was the very first person that we met. So for us, Donna was like the face of Granville Gardens when we were making a decision for my mom to be there. I think initially the thing that really stood out was it was just such a pretty looking facility. It's, you know, it felt quite new. It was very clean. And as I say, we thought this was going to be temporary, so I wasn't really looking for anything specific that was going to make my decision, but I certainly didn't walk in and have any reservation about the first glance as to whether this may be a good place to be. It felt good from the minute we walked in the door. Couple of activity rooms, one quite large that would be where like bingo would take place, and then another one that's more of the art room that they'll do little art classes, or it's where the knitting group meets. My mom's not much into art or knitting, but I've arrived and she's down. They said, oh, there's an art class going on, and she's down in the activity room. And I said, she's doing art? And they said, oh no, I think she's just sitting there to watch. So I arrive in the room, 4 women at the end of the table doing the art class, and my mom doing a jigsaw puzzle at the other end of the table. So it's improved a great deal. The other thing used to be is my father would take my mom out to go places, and he would drop her at the door so she didn't have to walk far. As I say, she was not interested in, maybe going to bingo with her sisters or those types of things. She always complained of aches and pains and things that were preventing her from doing things. But since she's been at Granville Gardens, she, according to the staff there, she participates in everything. And even if it's just to go sit and watch other people do things, she has to leave her room, walk down a fairly long hallway, go down an elevator, and then get to where the activity is taking place. So even that amount of activity, just the walking in the hallways, is more than she had ever done. And my mom's physical ability is much better than a lot of other residents who are using walkers and whatnot, because my mom doesn't require any of those aids yet. So I think her life has improved a lot since she's been there. It certainly wasn't what I anticipated. I thought that by moving out of her own home and going to a facility, she would potentially deteriorate. So it had the exact opposite effect. I would say for me, I feel somewhat of a sense of relief, because I know she's well looked after. I know there's somebody always around. My mother gets her medications administered to her, and that happens at least 3 times a day. So I know that she's in the dining room 3 times a day. She's getting her medications 3 times a day. So there's somebody physically with their eyes on her at least 6 times a day, and more often because she's going to activities that intersperse between all of that. And they know that if she doesn't show up for something, she's going to get a phone call or somebody's going to go to her room. So I feel like I don't have to worry about what's going on with her on a daily basis. It's a sense of relief and a real stress reducer for me. Sometimes she'll be doing an activity, and I've come to just to drop off something that she needs, and she's like quite happy to just continue doing her activity. And oh, by all means, please take my key to my room and you can just go drop that off, because I'm busy here having fun. I would say don't hesitate for a second to make the decision for them to be there. It's my opinion is it's been nothing but perfect and wonderful. We as a family needed somewhere quite quickly for my mom to go, because her dementia was getting to the point where she couldn't stay at home with my father. So it was within the hospital system, actually, that they were trying to find placement for her. And it was a bit of a scramble. She stayed with me for a couple of nights, and I do not like in the physical layout of where I am was not appropriate for my mother. So we were recommended, one of the places that was recommended was Granville Gardens. There was a couple of other recommendations that were, well, extremely expensive. So we went to Granville Gardens. We spoke to the marketing manager there, and who we got a tour and were provided with all the information we needed. And our intention was that we would, my mom would live there for a month on just a trial basis, and we would see how it went. So we really did no other investigation into any other facility. And it was just kind of, we needed her to be somewhere, and then we were going to, start looking around and make a decision. But it became apparent quite quickly that Granville Gardens was exactly what my mom needed, and we didn't need to look anywhere else. So, and it's 2 years later and she's still there. So it wasn't initially that we sought out to find something and that was our choice. It was this place that we thought was going to be temporary until we could find something. And I'm just so glad it worked out the way it did. Honestly, I think it was within the first week of her being there, we realized that this was going to work. I initially thought, how on earth is my mom going to be able to, she's not going to remember where the dining room is. How is she going to walk out the door, get down the hallway, get down an elevator, get to the dining room? And, initially she had an escort that would, assist her. And now she does that on her own. For our family and the decision for my mom, we basically, this was through within the hospital system of staff there, social workers and whatnot, basically providing us with a list of places. And one of the suggestions was Granville Gardens. I honestly think that there probably needs to be a little bit more access to lists and information and websites, and where do I go to see different facilities, what they provide, what the costs are. I think we lucked in, but I think it's difficult to find the information that you need. So sometimes within your health region, there's numbers that you can call for specific regions. And I'm assuming that Comfort Life is that type of a source of information. So something like that for us at the time would have been helpful. And I know that we were provided with names and organizations, and one was a place for mom, I think was the name of something. And there was somebody trying to help and find, but it was, there's waiting lists here and this place might have something. And so there's a lot of work I think that families need to do for themselves. So to have an organization that can sort of help navigate and do the work for you to some degree, that would have been very helpful. And as I say, I think we just lucked in with the way this fell into place. Completely slick. I have no other way to describe it. So my mom's suite that she lives in is just a studio suite. So that's what was available at the time. And it was set up as one of their show suites. So it actually had a bed, a television. It had a lot of things in it that some of it, they just said, you can keep, these few items, and we can, if you would like to, purchase a couple of the items that are already in the room. They gave it to us at an extremely low rate. So we moved very little in. There was a lot that was provided in the room. I'm assuming that's not always the case, but it was this small studio-sized show suite. So we brought very little. It was, you know, a suitcase of clothes and, you know, over time, a few other things that she needed, but getting her there, fantastic. One of the things that I was concerned about when she moved in, like, was just all of a sudden leaving her alone in a place that she was unfamiliar with. So I had said, you know, can I stay here? And they said that if that was something I really felt that I needed to do, that, you know, I could do that. Whether it would have been in a separate room for a night or like in her room, and then I just got to thinking, you know, I'm so close in proximity to get there. If there's something and she's, you know, worried and needs something, like, you know, I can just go. And I thought, just gotta kind of bite the bullet. But that was offered. And I could see somebody from out of town that, you know, is going to be not close by, that probably if they wanted to stay for a period of time, you know, there's empty suites that aren't being used or whatnot, but I didn't take them up on that option. One of the things with her, she wanted to be out of her own home. She didn't want to be there anymore. So she needed to be somewhere. And it's like, I'm very surprised at how the transition just was so perfect. I wouldn't do anything differently.
And knowing what you know now, what would you tell yourself? What would you do differently?
You know, in all honesty, the only thing differently is I would have maybe anticipated the need for her to be somewhere earlier, and maybe had places in mind where she would be comfortable and where as a family we would be comfortable. But in all honesty, even if I had done that sort of legwork, or other family members had done that legwork, we might not have found Granville Gardens. So the way it happened, I think, it happened that way for a reason. When you're kind of scrambling to find something, usually if you're scrambling to find something, you don't find what you're looking for, because you really don't know what you're looking for. But we found what we were looking for.
For more information about this community, you can visit their profile at comfortlife.ca.